Derailed, awkward coronation moment reveals major problem facing lonely Harry. The royal family had a very surprising reaction to the Duke of Sussex's return to the UK, and it reveals a deeper problem for Sussex. If at this very moment King Charles were to try to gather his wife and his sons and probably even the dogs for a little bit of family therapy, representing more sharing than the royal family has probably ever engaged in, what exactly would a professional recommend? How would they suggest that the king goes about dealing with his ever-vexing, ever-whiny son, Prince Harry? Over the last few years, the royal family has tried a few different approaches when it comes to Harry. They've tried the serious, stern approach. They've also tried the nice approach, talking about how they're much-loved members of the family. But still, nothing seems to have worked. And if there has been one lesson of the 2020s, it would be this. If they've got the Sussex title, they're gonna whine. If Harry's various temper tantrums have maybe triggered some royal family teeth gnashing, or even provoked some kind of middle-of-the-night soul introspection, then you know what? It would be pretty understandable. But now the news has come out that one very particular detail about Harry's appearance at last month's coronation reportedly caused much hilarity inside the firm. So this year, a few stand-up comedians in the US, including people like Chris Rock, have almost been lining up the microphone to make fun of Harry and Meghan. And let's not forget that South Park episode that was devoted to the two of them. And now we get this nice little morsel in the Times suggesting that the royal family, at least in this instance, is following a similar approach. Alright, I'm going to set the scene for you all. It's 5 weeks ago, and the world was watching a 74-year-old spend 2 hours taking robes on and off and being presented with so many golden things. And then Queen Camilla was not looking very relaxed. Now, of course, the whole royal family was there to watch this important moment. It was an interesting mix of ancient traditions with some more modern aspects too. And even Harry made an effort to put in what could be best described as a perfunctory appearance. He flew back to the UK, watched his father get crowned, and then he headed right back to the US. Supposedly it was because he had to be there for his son Archofficial's 4th birthday, but who knows. Now, when Harry was there, it seemed like he was trying to put on a good show of it. He was laughing and joking with his cousins, but unfortunately for Harry, it seems like this attempt was accidentally derailed by whoever figured up the seating plan. Not only was Harry sitting way back in the 3rd row, but he was also positioned behind his aunt Princess Anne's absolutely smashing military getup. She was wearing her full bib and brace as the colonel of the Blues and Royals in the Household Cavalry, and her uniform also included a pretty remarkable hat with a pretty remarkable feather up there on top of it. And herein lies the problem, folks. Not only was Harry stuck behind Princess Anne's iconic backcomb pompadour, but her uniform also included that hat with the gigantic red plume. And so Harry had to spend the 2 hours of the coronation hidden by Anne's headgear. Well, social media had an absolute blast making fun of this moment, and apparently his relatives did too. A royal insider told the Times Royanika there was, quote, much hilarity among the family about where the plume ended up and what it ended up obscuring. Whew, doesn't sound good for Harry. So unfortunately, Harry versus the feather echoed the scenes at the late Queen's funeral last September. Harry and Meghan were sitting in the 2nd row of Westminster Abbey, so whenever the cameras cut to the royal family, the two of them were hidden by a big white candle. If you all are keeping count like I am, then you know the coronation was the 3rd occasion in a year that Harry has been put in the 2nd or 3rd row for a grand royal or state event. I'm guessing that would have to be enough to even put the most robust of egos on their therapist's sofa. Considering that the last few years have been filled with drama, I think it's understandable that the HRH left responsible for the Buckingham Palace tiller would end up somewhere on the other side of grief and sadness, and probably the urge to throw some plates against the wall. So it looks like Harry has become the prince of punchlines. Perhaps the royal family is really starting to regain their barely seen who knew they even had it sense of humor. Now, the royal family outwardly doesn't seem to be a bunch of jokers. However, behind the scenes, I'm guessing they're pretty witty. Then when May rolled around, the whole world was treated to Meghan and Harry's story about that near-catastrophic car chase through the streets of Manhattan. Now, after that story started to fall apart, the Daily Beast Tom Sykes reported that, quote, friends of the British royal family have mocked Meghan and Harry's version of events. A friend of William's even joked to the Beast, recollections may vary, and that same friend also quipped, I thought they were leaving the royal family for a quieter life. If flashbulbs give Harry flashbacks, I don't understand why he is going to award ceremonies. And then that same month, the Daily Mail's Richard Eden reported that Meghan and Harry had earned the nickname the Kardashians in royal circles. He said, quote, "In tribute, it's explained to their appetite for accepting awards for themselves, talking about themselves, doing programs about themselves." So if Harry and Meghan, through the Netflix docuseries and also his book Spare, had hoped that their efforts were going to result in the king and all of them feeling regretful and abashed, making the metaphoric pilgrimage to the Montecito home to beg for forgiveness, then I'm guessing they're feeling very disappointed right now. A royal source spoke with the Spectator's Cara Kennedy, saying that, quote, "Post-coronation, they are merely ignoring him and Meghan. It's pretty clear that they are banished after all that has happened now." All right, well, perhaps the most logical way to understand the royal family supposedly finding the more hilarious side to Harry's coronation turn, to Meghan and Harry's Kardashian moniker, and also to the two of them being mocked, is what other choices do they actually have? To quote Abraham Lincoln, who had nicked the line from Lord Byron, quote, "I laugh because I must not weep." And maybe I'm a little late to the party, but I believe the truth about Meghan and Harry and their race baiting is really starting to come out in the American market too. At first, even I believed that maybe Harry was some kind of example of Stockholm Syndrome. He was Meghan's captive. But now I'm starting to suspect that he's always been this way, but the royal family did a good job of covering up his true nature. Looks like Chelsea dumped him when she came to understand that he's never going to take responsibility for himself and he'll always blame the media for his problems. Now, Her Late Majesty the Queen did absolutely everything to try to accommodate him. And if you follow the trail, you can see they were planning their escape way before they got married. There is even footage out there of Oprah and Gayle King saying the Queen knew about them leaving. Now, the timing and the final destination were the only things they didn't know for sure. And the other thing was that Meghan Markle was actually after William, but of course he wasn't interested in that piece of trash. If you watch, you can see so many times that Meghan should be looking at Harry with love in her eyes, but instead she was over there trying to flirt with William. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.